Now let's move on to the next project, that is AMCA. So the last update we gave was during DEF Expo. So at that time the design, was it the final design that was getting?
Yeah, configuration.
The final configuration. So from then to now, it's almost been a year. So what has been happening on that project?
Yeah, again in AMCA, the PDRs are all completed, including the aircraft level PDR, which happened very, very recently, just about a month ago. And so the complete design is frozen now.
Okay.
And the detailed design activities have begun, including realization of various LRUs. Now, an interesting thing with AMCA is there is a lot of commonality of LRUs with Mark II, Air Force Mark II. And that helps because one is only upgrading some of the LRUs for the AMCA, additional surfaces and so on.
Okay.
The actuator design has started.
Okay.
And so it's moving very well. And the Air Force has frozen all its PSQRs, the requirements are very clear.
Okay.
After discussion
with
us for over a year.
Okay.
And that program has moved very well, and we are on track for getting that aircraft ready for rollout by 24. It has a different kind of a wing, so that wing design is also progressing well.
So this wing design is progressing where? Is it in
in
HAL only? And so what role is NAL playing for AMCA?
NAL plays a big role in all the ADA programs.
NAL is always the unsung hero.
Yes. They of course, the wind tunnel testing is what happens there to a large extent. In addition, all the structural design activities within NAL. And many of the design exercises are done with NAL engineers, aerodynamics and so on. So they assist us in many of the activities for design.
So I remember during DEF Expo, while interviewing the AMCA team, I was told about the kind of work that is happening in terms of like getting in the stealth features at various labs. Maybe not much can be shared, but I understand because sensitivities.
I purposely didn't mention that, but it's a national program.
Yeah.
And many laboratories in the country, including NAL, are working on these technologies, and they have progressed very well. In fact, we have a good clarity what is the kind of stealth features or materials we will incorporate in AMCA. And they have progressed well. They are advanced to a stage where we are now clear of what we are going to do. Also, we are making a full-scale model for measuring the stealth characteristics. And that's in a very advanced stage.
That was by some Hyderabad-based industry, right? Okay.
So that should come very shortly. So that will also be a good input for stealth. And of course, as you know, we have changed the intake. It was a major design exercise which we came out successfully.
Now it's the DSI.
The DSI intake, which is for the first time. It improves stealth tremendously, plus has a lot of other benefits. So the future programs will have DSI. And that is one technology that was left to be mastered. In fact, in Mark II, we are doing the canards, and in AMCA, we'll have the DSI. And probably the naval program will have both.
All right. So since you are on to the naval program, what can you share about the TEDBF?
Yeah, so TEDBF, I think the Indian Navy has got the confidence now that we can make a carrier-based aircraft in the country. That was the last challenge because the Air Force aircraft proved all the things for a land-based aircraft. The only thing missing was carrier. Technologies to be able to land and take off from the carrier as well as operate on the carrier. And this was successfully proven last year on the same day today, 11 January, where LC Navy finally landed on the Vikramaditya.
So today is the LC Navy Day.
It's the anniversary of that.
January 11.
It was a very important achievement because of the complexity of that. And once that has been done, now the Indian Navy is confident that it can be developed in the country, and we are working on the TEDBF with the Indian Navy. The configuration is reaching some stage. We are having iterations with the Indian Navy to finalize the configuration. By mid of this year, we should have the configuration frozen, and then the design activities will move further. And this will be a replacement for the mid-2021. So it's that class of aircraft. It's much bigger than the single engine LCA Navy. which is a very good aircraft, but they wanted more capabilities in terms of range, endurance, weapon carrying capability and so on. So that is progressing well. And of course it will be twin engine with a wing fold.
So when do we get to see a rollout of a TEDBF? That will be in...
Rollout of TEDBF maybe around 25.
Okay.
And first flight by 26.
So these deadlines are, these are all challenging missions. So we bound to skip these deadlines. Fair enough. That's what happens when we make it.
No. Now we don't expect to skip. See, why deadlines of LCA were skipped? The reason was we were developing technologies along with it.
Okay.
Now it's very difficult to say how long will you take to master flight. You can predict it may take 2 years, but sometimes it may take 5 years. Whereas now we are using things which are already proven.
Okay.
So the only new technologies in TEDBF, if you ask me, are wing folding, which we will be doing for the first time. Twin engine, of course, we are doing AMCA. So most of the technologies are already under control for AMCA. So we don't see that much of a challenge in meeting the timelines. Tasks can be well defined and well planned.
So are you saying that India's aeronautical programs are very unlikely to skip the deadlines anymore?
Yes, not unless some unforeseen situation occurs like COVID or things like that. We don't expect that there should be major delays. Of course, manpower is an important aspect, and for that we are now outsourcing to industry as well as trying to recruit more people as well. Because now both the services are convinced that we can do it in the country. It's just a matter of putting resources and achieving it.
So is it like the PMT of IAF for this TEDBF, there will be a PMT from...
There is already, it's called NPO, Naval Project Office, and they are very much there. Of course, they are a small team right now, unlike the Air Force PMT, which already exists in ADA, and they are facilitating our activities with the Indian Navy.
Okay.
In fact, when we went to the carrier, they were the ones who really facilitated the whole process. It's quite a complex task of taking an aircraft to the carrier.
All right.
So they are there, and they are now augmenting that team to make it much more effective in ADA. They have a very good small team currently.
Since we are on this LCA Navy Day, so what's happening to NP1 and NP2 now?
NP1 and NP2 are very active. Because of COVID, we couldn't go for a detachment. Otherwise, NP1, NP2 and now NP5 is joining very soon, by about April. NP5, one more prototype will join, which is a production standard prototype of the two, same NP1 and NP2. And all three are doing trials at Goa to get inputs for TEDBF. What we are doing now is trying to do off-nominal trials, that is miss trials, that is purposely coming with a offset or a bank angle. Abnormal cases, just to see how the structure takes it, what needs to be designed to make sure that you have all these when you finally go for the TEDBF. And so TEDBF iterations will be much lower.
So all these two prototypes plus NP5 later, they all will be doing at SBTF or on the carrier?
Mostly SBTF. To some extent on the carrier.
Right.
Carrier time is very precious.
Right.
Like last time, in fact, it was quite an achievement that in 5 days we could do 18 landing and takeoff, because the time available is very short, and so we have to be prepared on the SBTF so that on the carrier we can do things quickly. So most of the activities will happen on SBTF. Few in Bangalore also, but mostly in SBTF, and then a few on the carrier. And on the carrier, we would not like to do abnormal landing trials. It will be mostly on SBTF, just to qualify the structure and to see what needs to be designed in. The most important aspect is not to over-design. Because naval aircrafts are heavier than Air Force aircrafts. So to make sure that you don't make it excessively heavy to take care of the loads, that is where we have to draw the optimal line, and that's what we are trying to do in the SBTF.
All right.